Hi, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can use the Inkey's List Tranexamic Acid Serum, which contains 2% of tranexamic acid, 2% of iceberry and 2% of ascorbyl glucoside, which is a vitamin C derivative. So this is a great brightening serum, and it's definitely worth a trial if you're trying to reduce surface hyperpigmentation. And you can use it daily in the morning and or evening, so once or twice per day daily. However, they recommend to start off slowly, so start off by using it 2 to 3 times per week, once per day, and then gradually increase the frequency over time so that you can see what your skin can tolerate. Now, overall, tranexamic acid does not have any conflicts. However, I still recommend keeping the focus on your skin type and your specific skin concern, especially if you're being new to it. My best advice would be either use the tranexamic acid serum on its own or just work with hydration along with it so that you can see how your skin is going to respond to it before adjusting it any further. Now, the major problem that may arise, as the Inkey's List describes, is that you may come across a layering issue. Therefore, they recommend that after you have applied your tranexamic acid serum, that you are going to wait 30 minutes in between before you're moving on to your moisturizer, as then you may come across an issue that's called pilling, which is quite annoying. Now, I've tried it with different combinations and I've never come across the pilling issue, and I believe that this is a really important point to emphasize based on how much product you're going to use and how you are going to take care of your skin in between your cleansing step and with what you're going to follow afterwards. Therefore, first of all, I have prepared for you a very simple and hydrating, yet keeping the focus on tranexamic acid itself, example skincare routines, morning and evening, in PowerPoint slides to show you the demonstration, like the step-by-step application. And then later on, I want to get into the application itself and share with you the tips on how you can avoid the pilling issue or overall the layering issue, because it is really a key point that you need to keep in mind when doing so, because sometimes formulations are a bit tricky to layer, but you still can make it work. So first of all, let's get started with example skincare routines that I have prepared for you. Starting off with the morning skincare routine. So if you like to use the tranexamic acid serum in the morning, this is now how you can go ahead and use it, or basically add it into your current existing skincare routine. You're starting off with your cleanser, so make sure that your cleanser is suitable for your skin type. My best advice would be a gentle cleanser. Now, exfoliating acid cleansers aren't wrong, but I do just want to keep it as hydrating and simple and gentle as possible. Therefore, if you can, go with a gentle cleanser. Wash your face, rinse it off, pat the skin dry. Then you're moving on, if you like, to an hydrating toner or serum. So if you have a hydrating toner, this would be next step after cleansing. Or if you want to go with the Inkey's List setup, then they have the hyaluronic acid serum, as they would call it, their hydrating toner instead, which adds hydration to the skin. So then you can go add hydration to the skin, apply to the skin, leave it on the skin, there's no need to wash it off. And then you're moving on to the tranexamic acid serum, apply to the skin, leave it on the skin. And then after that, if you like to follow on with your moisturizer in between, you do not have to include it depending on the sunscreen that you're using and your skin type. And then after you have applied your moisturizer, lay also your sunscreen on top of it so that you can protect the skin from the damaging UV rays. And if you're currently experiencing surface hyperpigmentation, sunscreen is highly recommended. So then this would be an example order of application for a morning skincare routine. As for the evening, it can look pretty much the same, just without the sunscreen. So your cleansing step, then you're going to add the hydration to the skin, and then your tranexamic acid serum, and then if you still should feel the need, your moisturizer afterwards. If you're wearing sunscreen and or makeup throughout the day that your regular cleanser isn't able to properly take off, well then I recommend doing a double cleanse, either with micellar water, on oil or balm cleanser, and then continue with the rest of your skincare routine. Now, in the future, if you see, well, I've just kept the routine simple, but now I'm thinking of adding an exfoliant to my skincare routine. That's fine, go ahead and do so. Tranexamic acid does not really have any conflicts. As I mentioned earlier, it's more so what your skin can tolerate and what combinations work the best for your skin. So if you say, well, tranexamic acid works well for me, but I do want to add an exfoliant to the routine as well, well then go ahead and do so. And then here you can see an example of what it can look like. So you have your gentle cleanser. In this specific case, your gentle cleanser is important. Then you can move on to your exfoliant, then hydration, tranexamic acid acid serum, and then of course we're going to keep it towards an evening skincare routine, follow with a moisturizer if you should feel the need. But it isn't wrong to do it the other way around as well. So if you want to at first add hydration to the skin after your cleansing step and then move on to your exfoliant, this can work as well. So see what order of application in that specific case works the best for you, and based on that you're going to adjust it. But you can work with a leave-on exfoliant when using your tranexamic acid in the same routine. Just make sure that this works well for your skin concern and that your skin is going to respond well to it. Of course, please always keep the frequency in mind of your leave-on exfoliant as well. So this would be an overall example routine on how you can adjust it and how you can basically add it to a skincare routine so that you can see the order of application. To keep it simple, layer from the thinnest to the thickest texture. Now I want to get into the entire application, and I have an example routine right here, and I'm going to go with a morning skincare routine including the moisturizer as well, so that you can see the amount of product that I'm going to use and how you can layer it so that you won't come across this issue. Now of course, if you have a sunscreen that on its own feels hydrating enough, you do not need to use a moisturizer in between. That's completely fine as well, just leave it out, but you may want to add a moisturizer in your evening skincare routine. So always adjust it accordingly to your skin type, and especially if you're experiencing dryness. So we're going to get started with the first step, which is the cleansing step. I have two examples right here of gentle cleansers, so either one for dry skin, the other one for combination to oily skin. Now I'm going to use Cetaphil's Daily Facial Cleanser, which is suitable for combination to oily. If you have a different one, exchange it, that's completely fine. Just make sure to read on the back of the packaging on how you should use your cleanser. Now it is recommended with the cleanser that I'm currently using to apply to wet skin. So first of all, I'm going to wet my face with lukewarm water to warm water. Then I'm going to use about 1 to 2 pumps, which is more or less about a coin size amount on the palm of my hand. Rub my hands together and then gently massage it over my face and neck for about 30 seconds to a minute. And I'm going to rinse it off. And in between, I like to work with a soft and fresh washcloth, those microfiber cloths or makeup cloths, as it helps me, especially when doing this above the sink, to properly take the cleanser off the skin. This can work with makeup and sunscreen as well. It's a great helper. Now you can wash your face above the sink or take the cleanser with you in the shower. Either way is fine. Just make sure to properly get the cleanser off the skin. So let's go ahead and do this. So now go ahead, dispense some cleanser on the palm of your hand. Rub your hands together and then gently massage it all over, again for about 30 seconds to a minute. Please make sure to not get it into your eyes nor into your mouth. If that's the case, rinse it with water. So once you have rinsed off the cleanser, now I think there is a point where most of you are going to do the mistake to still leave your skin wet. So because you think that if you're going to leave your skin damp, which in that specific case would refer to having still some water drops on the skin surface, this is going to benefit other skincare products to penetrate better, and that you still are going to have much more hydration on the skin. Well, this is actually the biggest issue, where you're going to mix now your skincare product that it's going to follow with the remaining water on your skin surface. You're going to mix it, you're going to smear it around, then it starts to dry, and then when layering other skincare products afterwards, this is what's causing the pilling, because you're going to rub it off because it couldn't fully absorb into the skin. So please, this is an extremely important point, to now take a fresh towel and then remove the remaining water drops on the skin surface. While you were washing your face, your skin has already absorbed some water, so your skin is still damp even though you're going to remove the water drops from the skin surface. So once you're done with your cleansing step, you can immediately move on to the next step. Now, of course, you can immediately move on to your tranexamic acid serum if you want to keep the routine very simple and straightforward. However, if you do want to add hydration in between, this can be with an hydrating toner or maybe serum, then you can go ahead and now move on to that specific step. Now, I have two examples right here of an hydrating toner as well as the Inkey hyaluronic acid serum. Now, if you have a toner at home, you can dispense about a coin size amount, more or less about 5 to 10 drops on the palm of your hand, blend it together and then evenly apply it over your face and neck, or dispense about a coin size amount or slightly dampen the cotton pads and then swipe it across your face. Just make sure that it's not dripping wet, because then you're going to use too much product. As when it comes to a hydrating serum, if you have a hydrating serum that comes with a dropper, or as the Inkey one that is going to open right here where you still can count the drops, and you're working with a quite runny serum, you can go ahead and use between 3 to 5 drops. If you have a thicker, stickier serum, go with 2 to 3 drops. So the thicker the texture, the less product you're going to use, because then you have more time to blend it all over. Still, with the hyaluronic acid serum, please do not overdo it. I gave you a general guide, but start off with 3 drops. If that shouldn't be enough, you always can add one or the other drop afterwards to evenly blend it over your face and neck. But it should be able to fully absorb into the skin. Then rub your hands together and then gently blend it all over. So once you have applied your hydrating toner or serum all over your face and neck, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. Now, depending on how fast your skin is going to absorb it, you can immediately move on to the next step. However, if your skin needs a bit more time, then give it about 30 seconds to a minute in between, so that the toner or serum can fully absorb into the skin before you're moving on to the next step. Now, the next step after the hydrating step would be your tranexamic acid serum, because it has a thicker texture. It's a bit like a gel-like texture, and it has a pump. So either go with 1 pump if you just want to apply it over your entire face, or go with 2 pumps if you want to use it on your face and neck. Please do not overdo it. Again, it still should be a very thin layer all over, like you should be able to evenly apply it all over, but at the same time, it kind of needs to absorb into the skin where you can feel that it's not really sitting on the skin surface. That's kind of the feeling that you should go afterwards, because the more product that you're going to use, the more you may come across the pilling situation, and the more it sometimes can even lead to sensitivity, because your skin is too overwhelmed with the product that you have used, specifically if it contains certain percentage of actives. So go ahead and adjust the amount depending on how you want to blend it all over. So I'm going to use it on my fingertips. As you can see, it is like a gel, and then evenly apply it either just on your face or your face and neck, depending on your hyperpigmentation issue. Just make sure to not get it into your eyes nor into your mouth, and please do not get it too close to the actual lower lash line or use it on top of your eyelids. It still can get into your eyes. So once you have applied it all over your face and neck, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. Now, if this is going to be your evening skincare routine and you want to use the tranexamic acid basically on its own or just with some hydrating products beforehand, you can stop right here. If you do not experience any dryness, you do not have to follow with a not with a sunscreen, but you do not have to follow with a moisturizer afterwards. So that's completely fine. Go ahead and adjust it accordingly to your skin needs. But of course, if you now want to move on to a moisturizer, which you can use in the morning and or evening, then now would be the time to apply it on top of your tranexamic acid serum. Again, the Inkey list that says that they recommend waiting the 30 minutes in between, but based on what I've shared with you already so far, you shouldn't come across this issue, and therefore there shouldn't be any issues when layering your moisturizer kind of immediately afterwards. You can always wait the 30 seconds to a minute in between for the product to absorb and then move on to the next step. So go ahead, use your favorite moisturizer. Here's just one example from The Ordinary, and then use about a bean size amount for your face and neck. Again, you do not need a lot of product. So about that much, more or less. This can be slightly adjusted, but I just want to teach you that you shouldn't overdo it. And then evenly blend it all over. So, and once you have applied your moisturizer all over, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. And as you can see, I do not experience any pilling. The moisturizer layers beautifully on top. I have no issues with pilling on my fingers whatsoever. So it does really play a big role on how you're going to apply your skincare products, especially after cleansing, and how much product you're going to use of each individual product so that the skin is able to absorb it, so that you're not going to layer too many heavy coats after another. And so this can already make a huge difference. Now, if this is going to be your evening skincare routine, the moisturizer, if you want to include one, is going to be the last step, and then there you have it. However, during daytime, so it doesn't matter if you're using the serum in the morning and or evening, during daytime it still is important to follow with sun protection afterwards, specifically if you're trying to reduce your surface hyperpigmentation. So you do not want to make it even darker, you're trying to reduce it to lighten it. So therefore sunscreen is important, and I'm going to now apply it on top. So the moisturizer in between your tranexamic acid serum and the sunscreen during daytime is an optional step. You can, but you do not have to include it. So now I'm going to move on to the sunscreen. I'm going to use COSRX Aloe Soothing Sunscreen. This is just one example. If you have a different one, exchange it. So when applying your sunscreen, apply 10 to 15 minutes before sun exposure and use about half a teaspoon for your face and neck. If you want to include your décolletage, then use about 1 teaspoon. This is an overall general guide. This can be adjusted. You can reduce it or add more to it depending on the sunscreen that you may have. But you need to use a fair amount to evenly blend it all over where you have basically sun exposure, like where your skin is being exposed to the sun. And so I'm going to keep my main focus now on my face and neck, and I'm going to go with half a teaspoon, which I have right here, so I can show you the amount, but again this can be slightly adjusted. So then go ahead, take that amount on your fingertips and then evenly blend it all over. Now I'll always like to include my ears as well, so I'm going to use it on my face, neck and even ears, and just a bit on the décolletage, but of course if you have more décolletage exposure, use a bit more of sunscreen. So, and once you have applied your sunscreen all over, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. And as you can see, again, I do not experience any peeling whatsoever, even though I have applied the tranexamic acid, moisturizer and now sunscreen on top. So if you're going to use the right amount of each product, this can really work, and you shouldn't come across any issues at all referring to the peeling situation. Now, of course, this would be then an example of a morning skincare routine on how you can include it, but I've mentioned already earlier on how you can adjust it depending on the time of use you're going to do this specific routine. Nonetheless, sunscreen during daytime when being exposed to the sun is important. So if you want to go over the example skincare routines, see some like skincare tips in general, such as the cleansing methods that can be used if you need to wash your face in the morning, even a sunscreen guide, the peeling situation, the layering guide in general, and what products I have used in my example skincare routines. You can find everything in the description box down below. There will be a link. If you're going to click on it, you can see the PowerPoint slides online, and you can even download them if you find them helpful. Now, this is what I wanted to share with you. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did so, please don't forget to give the thumbs up as well as share it. And if you now want to learn more about skincare in general, I'm going to leave some of the videos at the end of this video, but you will find more on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in the next one. Happy skincaring. Bye.